All right, so today we're looking at using synthetic division to find quotients, and remainders. First things first, let me zoom this out a little bit so we can actually see what we're doing here. All right, so let's just quick review of things. Without using a calculator, remember how to divide. 9 divided by 3 is what? 3. All right, so we'll review our vocabulary here. So things we need to know: the dividend, that's the thing being divided. The divisor is the thing doing the dividing. P-H-I-N-G. And if I could spell dividing, not dividing. Okay, so if we're looking at our examples here, the thing being divided, the dividend, that would be the 9 here, right? This is the thing being divided. The divisor, the thing doing the dividing, that would be the 3. So it's 9 divided by 3. The quotient is the answer. And the remainder is any leftovers. We don't usually work with remainders in Algebra 2, but polynomial division is the exception to that. All right, so in the following example, find the quotient and remainder using polynomial long division. All right, so it's been a while probably since you all did this. So we set up our division just like a normal division bar. So x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. And that's where we put our dividend, the thing being divided, in the center. Notice that we have an x cubed term, an x squared term, and just an x term, so I don't need any 0 placeholders. And then I need to put my divisor in here, the thing we're dividing it by, x minus 2. All right, so then we're going to do our first thing. All right, so remember that when we do this, we're going to put it in, it's 2 units here. So we're going to put our first number over the top of this. So we're up at the second one. We're going to say x times what equals x cubed. Remember, that's x squared. We're going to put that on top. And then we're going to multiply just like in regular division. X squared times x is x cubed. And x squared times negative 2x gives me negative 2x squared. And then remember, we are subtracting. And when you subtract a binomial, you change the signs of both things. So this was a positive x cubed. So we're going to change this to addition, change that to subtraction, change the sign of the second one. So x cubed minus x cubed is 0x cubed. And 5x squared plus 2x squared gives me 7x squared. All right, and then we look and we say, what times x gives me 7x squared? Or x goes into 7x squared how many times? And the answer to that is going to be a positive 7x. All right, 7x times x is 7x squared. 7x times negative 2x gives me a negative 14x. Don't forget, we need to bring this down. So minus 7x. All right, and then we're subtracting. So we change the subtraction to addition, change the signs of all the numbers, and then let's combine. So 7x squared minus 7x squared gives me 0x squared. Negative 14x plus 14x leaves me with 7x. Bring down my 2, so plus 2. And x goes into 7x how many times? Well, 7 times x gives me 7x, so plus 7. So 7 times x gives me 7x. 7 times negative 2 gives me negative 14. We're subtracting. So when we're subtracting, change the subtraction to addition, change the signs of everything else. 7x minus 7x is 0, and 2 plus 14 is 16. I've got nothing else to bring down, so we're just going to say remainder 16. All right, so that is my answer. All right, that is the quotient, that is the answer of our division problem, is x squared plus 7x plus 7. Now, that was a lot of steps. I mean, admittedly, that was a lot of steps, right? So let's look here and see. We have an easier way to find the quotient and the remainder, and it's called synthetic division. All right, so we're going to set up the problem just like we did last time. Only instead of using our x minus 2 as our outside number, we're actually going to set it equal to x. So we're going to set the divisor equal to 0 and then solve for x. So this is the divisor. Remember, that's the thing doing the dividing. So x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals positive 2, because we just add 2. All right, so that's going to be our outside number. So then let's set it up, right? You remember with the synthetic division, we did this a little bit in the last lesson. You draw the big division bar and it's like upside down. And then we put in our coefficients, which are the numbers in front of all of our x's and this constant at the bottom, at the end. So in front of the x cubed, we have a 1. In front of the x squared, we have a 5. In front of the regular x, we have a negative 7. And then we have our 2 last. And then this is our divisor, that 2. So we're going to put it here. All right. Bring down the 1. That's the very first thing we do. And then we perform our multiplication. So 2 times 1 is 2. And remember on this one, instead of subtracting, we're adding. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Negative 7 plus 14 is positive 7. And 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 2 is 16. All right. So now we have to figure out what our solution is. So very important here, this last number. All right. When we're figuring out, because all I have is numbers here, and I need to put in x's and x squareds and x cubes and all of these things. All right. So the very first thing we do is we're going to start from the right. Your very last number is going to be your remainder. All right. So this is going to be remainder 16. And then we work backwards. So that's the remainder. This will be the x to the 0 term, which x to 0 is just 1. So this is just going to be your constant. So we know it's going to be 7. And this does not have a minus sign, so it's going to be plus 7. Then we work back 1. So this would be the x term. So 7x. And we go back 1. And this would be the x squared term. So x squared. All right. Now look. So the answer I've got for this is x squared plus 7x plus 7 with a remainder of 16. Now let's go back and look. Is that the same answer we got up here? X squared plus 7x plus 7, remainder 16. So we got the same answer, but the synthetic division was a lot faster. All right, so some things to remember here. If you don't want to work backwards on putting in your x's and your x squares, some tips. So write your solution, your leading term's degree. That's the exponent. Will be 1 less than the original dividends. All right, so looking up here, our original dividend we started out with had an x cubed. Do you see how our quotient, our answer, our exponent was 1 less? We started out with x squared. So if you wanted to work left to right instead of working right to left, that's a good thing to know. Also remember that your last value, that's the 16, is your remainder. You're going to write this as remainder, R, with a colon, and then your number. Okay? All right, so let's do some examples. All right, so use synthetic division to find the quotient and remainder of each of the examples below. All right, so first thing we need to do, we need to find out what our outside number is. So x plus 1 equals 0. So x equals negative 1. Remember, subtracting 1 from both sides. So that's going to be our outside number. Draw our box. So let's look at the coefficients. So x cubed has got a positive 1 in front of it. X squared has got a negative 1 in front of it. X has got a positive 4. And then I have a negative 10. So those are all drawn in. Put in my outside number. Bring down the first one. So 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. We're adding. So negative 1 plus negative 1 gives me negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 gives me positive 2. 4 plus 2 gives me 6. 6 times negative 1 gives me negative 6. And negative 6 plus negative 10 gives me negative 16. All right, so let's do this one. Let's assign our x's starting from left to right on this one. So we know we started out with an x cubed. So our first value here is going to be 1 less than that, so x squared. So 1x squared minus 2x plus 6 with the remainder, that's my last number, of negative 16. All right, let's do this next one. X to the fifth minus 1. And this is a very good one because I need to put placeholders in here. All right, so first let's solve for my outside number. So x minus 1 equals 0. So x equals 1. Remember, we're just going to add 1 to both sides here. All right, so that's my outside number. And let's put these things in. So there's 1. And I've got 1 x to the fifth. That's my coefficient in front of my x to the fifth. And then I don't have any other numbers until I get to my constant at the end. So I need 0x to the fourth and 0x to the third and 0x squared and 0x and then a negative 1 down here for my constant. All right, it is very important that you put those zeros in. All right, I know it seems like a pain and you're like, Ms. McMullen, why do we have to put that in if it's 0? If you don't put it in, you will not get it the right answer. All right, so let's bring this down. My very first step, 1 times 1 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so you see where we're going here. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 0, yeah, 1. 1 times 1 is 1. This is 1. 1. All right. Yeah, lots of ones. 1 times 1 is 1. And negative 1 plus 1 is 0. All right, so let's look. Remember, we had x to the fifth starting out. So we're going to start out with x to the fourth. So I have 1x to the fourth plus 1x to the third plus 1x squared. Did I do this right? Fifth, fourth, third. Fifth, fourth, third, second, x constant. Yep, I did it right. All right, so fourth, third, second, this is going to be an x. This is going to be my constant, plus 1. And look, I have a remainder of 0, so I don't even have to write it. This does not happen very often. All right? Anytime this does happen, and actually, you see right down here, when we get a remainder of 0, this is a magical thing. If we get a remainder of 0, that means the divisor is a factor of the dividend. Remember what a factor is? It's a number that goes into another number evenly. Like 3 is a factor of 9 because 9 divided by 3 is 3. It is an even number without any remainders. All right. If we do not get a remainder of 0, the divisor is not a factor. Most of the time with polynomial division, it's not going to be a factor. Like this one, remainder of negative 16. Our big example on the first page, we had a remainder of 16, was not an answer, was not a dividend. Okay. So now let's do this last one. All right, so first we need the number on the outside. So we're going to set 4x minus 1 equals 0. And this is a little bit different because of this 4 here. All right, so we're going to add 1 to both sides. So that would be 4x equals 1. And then we divide by 4. So x equals 1/4. Okay, so this is a little bit different. Don't freak out because we got a fraction here, all right? Process is the same. We're just working with a fraction now. All right, so let's draw our big divisor, our big bars. Let's put in our coefficients, right? So 8x squared plus 34x minus 1. Put our divisor on the outside, 1/4. Bring down your first number. So 1/4 times 8. All right, another way of saying this is 8 divided by 4. That's 2. All right, 34 plus 2 is 36. And what is 36 times 1/4, or 36 divided by 4? It's 9. Negative 1 plus 9 is 8. Okay, and then we're done because we have no more numbers on the right. All right, so even though 1/4 is going to 8, we're done, okay? Next thing you need to know is we need to take all of our coefficients and we're going to divide them by 4 because of this 1/4 right here. All of our coefficients have to be divided by 4. We're going to leave the remainder alone, okay? So if this was 1/5, we'd divide it by 5. If it was 1/3, we divide it by 3. If it was 1/72, we divide them each by 3. All right, so we're going to divide it by 4. That's my denominator. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 36 divided by 4 is 9. This is my remainder. Remember, the last one's always the remainder. It just stays. So we started out with x squared was our big one. Our first one's going to be less than that. So 1 less than that, so this is going to be x. So 2x plus 9 with a remainder of 8 is my answer. All right, so we've kind of gone through this a little quickly, guys. These last ones are just asking, is it a factor? Which means if you divide it and you get a remainder of 0, it's a factor. All right, I don't think we need to do an example of that because we can look right here at these, right? This one had a remainder of 0, is a factor. This one had a remainder of -16, not a factor. This one had a remainder of 8, not a factor. Okay? As always, if you have any questions, be sure to send me an email, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Thanks very much, and have a great day, guys.